In this video, I'm going to have a conversation with Harry Turpin. He is a director-actor here living in Seattle and a good friend of mine. And we're going to be talking about the director-actor relationship, what directors are looking for at auditions, and how you can better your skills as an actor so that you're prepared for your next audition. You won't want to miss this conversation after the bump. Hello everybody, so good to see you today. My name is Doug Fahl and this is Augmented Actor. If you would like to augment your acting career with tips, tactics, and tech, make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so that you can see all this content when it becomes available. Today I have a special guest, Harry Turpin. He is a director-actor living here in Seattle, Washington. Harry, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Doug.
Give everybody a little bit of background on your life as an actor.
Sure, my life as an actor. Gosh, I started doing community theater productions when I was, I don't even know how old. I think my first show was when I was in 4th grade. And it was like a local high school that needed kids to be in the chorus or whatever. And so I went out and did that. And then from there, I had the bug and I got really excited and started auditioning for pretty much everything and did a lot of theater in school. Did my first professional production when I was 15. And then just continued to audition and act and act and act. I've had opportunities to work at the Fifth and Village, and I did a national tour. We got our little Broadway credit because we played Madison Square Garden, which was kind of fun to say, yay, I got my Broadway contract. But then have transitioned mostly from being an actor into being a director on top of that. And so I've had a nice chance to be on both sides of the table, working as an actor in all these shows and then being able to put the show together on the other side.
How did you get your start as a director then?
So I actually started choreographing first, and that allowed me to sort of get a lot of experience managing people and working with them in that situation. And there was a show that came along where the director kind of fell down on the job a little bit and they needed somebody to step in. Since I was part of the production team, I stepped in and helped out where I could to help salvage the show, the show must go on sort of mentality. And I realized that I really liked putting it all together. Like choreographing the dances is great and kind of works with my brain just in terms of structurally creating the visual pictures. And I realized, well, I could do that with the show and I could also add my own experience as an actor in there and my own expression. And so I threw my hat in the ring and started directing a few little shows, and then it just kind of snowballed from there. And I've directed, gosh, I think in the last 4 years, probably close to 20 productions, which has been really exciting and overwhelming at the same time.
Yeah, you've been really busy, I've seen, so that's good. Do you, I mean, obviously you still act occasionally?
Yeah, every once in a while. It's not something that I'm necessarily pursuing, but if a role comes along or an experience, I'm like, yeah. I've found that as I have gotten older, I want to do the projects that I want to do. I just don't want to be hustling and doing every single thing that comes along. There's just no reward in that for me anymore. I think it's great when you're younger to sort of get as much experience as you possibly can. But for me now, if I'm going to go and commit 3 months of my life to something, I want to make sure that I'm going to have a good experience. And I'm working with good people.
Do you find that your experience as an actor helps you direct, or your experience as a director helps you act better?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I approach a script as a director, I read it 3 different times. I read it once just to kind of understand what the story is, and my first time. And then I go back and I read it as an actor and kind of imagine if I were playing the different roles, what I would do emotionally in those different things. And then I read it as a director and start sketching my ideas. And that seems to work for me because I'm able to say, okay, in this scene, this is what I'm fighting for. In this scene, this is the picture that we need to do. And I can marry the 2 skills together to be able to create that picture. So I can come to my actors and say, hey, this is the goal of this scene. This is what we're trying to accomplish. And let them add their flavor on top of that. Because I've sort of worked through the emotional aspects of it that I'm looking for, which then allows me as a director to say, okay, this is now what I'm looking for in this particular scene. Let me give that instruction to a set of actors and see what they can bring to it, things that I haven't even thought of before. But I find that it's very, very useful to be able to approach it that way. On the other side, it's really interesting, I do have to admit, because when you're the director, you are in charge of the whole show, right? You're steering the ship. And when you're an actor, you're only responsible for your part. So sometimes you sit there and go, okay, well, that would not be the choice that I would make in this situation, but it's not my show, not my circus, not my monkeys. So I'm not going to say anything about it, and I'm going to do what's asked of me as an actor. But I do find that it allows me to be more bold in the situation, to be able to take additional risks that I may not have taken before, because I'm approaching it from a different way, and approaching it from the lens of what is the audience seeing, if that makes any sense. And there's a heightened awareness of what I'm doing on stage, which I think translates pretty well, just to be able to come back and say, okay, now I'm free. I guess I'm a little bit more free that way. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it totally does. When I acted, I've always kind of had a director's eye. I'm always trying to solve problems as an actor and stuff like that. And I know you can't, often tell people what to do or anything like that. So I kind of try to guide my decisions to give people information so that they make, but I'm always thinking like a director. And so when I started directing, it was interesting to see how, like, sometimes as a director you don't know quite what you're going to do until the actors are there and they give you that sort of. So it's definitely an exchange, and it definitely works both ways. And now as an actor, after having directed a few times, it's hard to sometimes hold your tongue or.
It is. It totally is times to hold. But to your point about guiding, I find that it helps to make. I'm able to anticipate a little bit more as to what the scene needs, as opposed to being a blank slate and saying, you tell me what to do, what it is that you want. I'm able to say, okay, to your point, we can guide and sort of shape. I can make decisions that ideally will hopefully help across the board. You can anticipate sort of what the next step is going to be, I think. I think it makes a huge difference.
And you can sort of foresee problems and solve them yourself before they happen on stage.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Without stepping on anybody's toes. Right, That's the big thing. You don't want to usurp anybody's power in the room, for sure.
For sure. When we're in the audition room, what do you see as a director that would be good advice for actors? A lot of actors go in and they think, oh, I did so crappy, or I didn't get cast because of this and this. And I know when you're behind the director's table, oftentimes the things that you're thinking or you're looking at are misinterpreted by the actors and don't have anything to do with why they were or were not cast.
Yeah, that's a big question. And we could probably talk for 15 days just about what it is that we're looking for behind the table, because it changes show by show by show. But really, the thing that I'm looking for, me personally, is that when somebody walks through that door, they have a story, they have a package for me. And even if they're doing two contrasting pieces, they know exactly what those pieces are and they know their intentions behind it. What I don't want to see is somebody who comes in and just sings me a song or just recites the words from the monologue. And it sounds so basic and it sounds so simple that you go, well, duh, nobody wants that. But you'd be surprised at how often that happens. People will come in and just give you the material thinking that that's going to be enough. The truth of the matter is we all kind of assume you can sing. We all kind of assume you can act. We know that. We want to see it. We want to see the story. At least for myself. I want to see a story when you walk in there. I want you to move me in a way that makes me go, yes, I want to know more about you. I want to work with you and discover and see how we can make each other better. That's really what I'm looking for, is somebody who is going to present a story in the room that says, hey, I've thought this through. I've thought all these intentions through. I know exactly where I'm going. And now you get to watch me discover each of those moments, because I think the thing, I'm going to take a step back here, but I think the thing that people forget is that an audition is a performance. It's not an audition. Yes, it is. But it's really a performance. It's your chance to go in there for 2, 5, 10 minutes, or however long you have, and really hold your audience captive and be able to say, I have thought through my pieces, and now I'm going to do the things that I really love to do, and you get to watch, and this is for me. Right? Everybody's like, oh my gosh, they're going to judge me, and did I wear the right dress, and are my shoes ugly, and is my hair out of place, blah, blah, blah. We don't really take a lot of that into consideration. I mean, you look like a human being and look presentable, right? But at the end of the day, we want to see that you're confident and you're enjoying yourself, and you're telling a story that means something to you, that you've brought something to it. That's what I'm looking for. I don't know about you, but when I sit behind the table, I want to see people who are challenging themselves as well as interpreting the material. If the material's not being interpreted, it doesn't give me anything. It just says, okay, you can speak and you can sing. What else can you do? And I hate to say this, but the question that kind of comes up at the end of the day is, how hard do I want to work as a director? I want people who are going to bring ideas into the room and people who are going to embody these characters with life. If I have to handhold them the entire way, that doesn't allow me to really focus on the larger picture, because we as directors are guides, right? We should not be, okay, and now you blink on 1 and then you breathe on 2, and we should not be that specific, unless it's like a choreographed thing or whatever. Yeah. But we want the actors to bring themselves to it, because that's what really, it's a collaboration, right? It's not one person sort of cracking the whip and saying, do all of these things.
Yeah, and one of the things that I noticed as a director is you want the actor, that story that they're telling is not just in the pieces that they're doing, but it's in the whole interaction from the moment you walk in the door
Yes.
to the moment you leave. It's the story of what are you like as a person, and how do you treat other people, and how do you handle your nerves, and how do you deal with things that go wrong. I mean, because it is a performance, those auditions are performances, but they're kind of performances that you've rehearsed without all the elements in place.
Yes.
So you are still thrown into that, I don't know what I'm facing kind of situation. But, suppose you're on a tour.
Right.
You show up at a theater. It's like, oh, we don't have the proscenium. Oh, we don't have this, or the house is not sold out, or whatever. There's all these different things, and you have to know how to roll with those punches.
Right, exactly. And you bring up a great point, which is how do you handle the nerves and or the audition being an entire experience, right? The minute that you walk in the door, you are going to have a ton of unknowns. You're not going to know who's behind the table. There could be 5, there could be 1, right? I mean, you could have a crummy accompanist. You could have all of these different things. The heat could be blasting full, blast in this room, and you're dying because it's a sauna. All these different things can come up. If you have done your work ahead of time, if you have done the preparation for yourself in the material and figured out your intentions and figured out exactly what it is you're going to do, you literally remove most of the issues that are going to happen, because I truly believe that people get nervous because they are unsure. They're unsure when they walk in that room of what they're going to do. Now, if they know what they're going to do, they've gotten rid of half of those nerves. And now they can just focus on, oh, the heat's on. Okay, cool. I can use that in my story because I've already done the prep work and I know how to work that. There are 5 people there. I wasn't expecting that many, but that's okay. I have a bigger audience to play with. It's easier to navigate those situations if you have done your prep work on the pieces ahead of time. But that's what I see the most in the room, is people who aren't quite sure. They maybe just picked up the monologue a couple days earlier, or the song was something they're like, I haven't sung that in 4 years. Let me pull that one out. That's what I see is uncertainty, and therefore their nerves ramp up. And you sit there and watch, ooh, this would be really good for you if you hadn't just chosen to do it 2 days ago.
Right, so that's good advice for actors, is to not wait for the audition call to pick your pieces, but to have a repertoire of pieces that you have worked on, and don't introduce those pieces into auditions until you are at that stage where you have polished them a little bit.
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer that as an actor, your job, I think a lot of people are like, the show is the job. The show is the job. But I actually believe that's the gravy, right? The work is going in and doing your audition. Your job as an actor is to audition. You have 2, 5, 10 minutes to show a group of people that you are worth getting that experience to be able to do that. And then you get to use the show as essentially a masterclass. You get to sit there and watch other actors perform their craft. You get to work on your own. You get to work with directors and grow. But in order to do that, you have to do all of the work ahead of time. So having that repertoire of material, working on your book, constantly finding new pieces, and keeping sharp on them, so that way you're not pulling it out at the last minute and going, sure, I'm going to do anything goes. I've never sung this song before, but why not? That's not going to work. By continuing to build your book and continuing to build the practices, you get into the space of having a plethora of material to be able to then pull, because you know it backwards and forwards. Again, I believe that your job is to audition, and in order to audition, you have to be doing the prep work. You have to be finding new material and reinventing it, and working with coaches who are able to, shameless plug, but who are able to help you hone and figure out your intentions and figure out exactly what it is that you're doing, so that way you, again, can remove all of those nerves when you walk into that room.
What do you, from experienced actors, the ones that you've seen several times, and you know that they do good work, when they go into an audition for you 3rd or 4th time or something, I mean, you already know what you're getting with them, you already worked with them before. What do you want to see from them when they come into an audition the 4th time?
I'm looking for growth. My sort of whole mantra is be better, right? And we don't have to be perfect. We can never be perfect, but we can be better the next day. And what I'm looking for those experienced actors, people I've worked with before, is for them to come in and take a new chance, take a risk, to show me something that I haven't seen before, right? We have a huge bag of tricks, but a lot of times we fall into what is tried and true. And we're like, hey, I'm gonna do this thing again, I'm gonna do this thing. The thing that's gonna take you over the line for me is come in and sing me a new piece. Come in and perform a new monologue. I can't tell you, this is so sad, but I can't tell you how many times people will come in, and because they know me and we've worked together, they take that with a grain, they take advantage of that. They think it's an easy in. And so they'll come in and do the same 2 pieces that they've done before. And I will sit there and go, oh, you've sung this for me before. I remember you did this the last show that we worked on. So you're not showing me anything new, so you think that because we've worked together, you don't have to work as hard. I want to know that they still want to be there, and not because it's just an easy gig. Does that make sense? So by continuing to hone their craft and by continuing to grow, it shows that they want to be part of this process. It's not just, well, I've got 3 months free. Yeah, sure, I'll go do that gig, right? And I know the director, and it should probably be an easy end. No, show me something new. Show me something new so that way I can utilize you in different ways. Maybe you've always played, ensemble number 5, but if you've shown me that you've grown, maybe I'll give you a chance as a supporting character, right? Or move you up so that way you have experience. But I can't do that if you're not growing.
I suppose that's key when you're doing general auditions. Each year you go to the same theater doing a new monologue, a new song or something. I keep a notebook of each piece that I do for each audition.
That's great.
And try to find something. Sometimes I'll repeat, but I'll try to give it like 5 or 6 years, or maybe a new casting person's come in and I know that piece will really wow them. I think that's a good thing, is to just always bring something different.
Yeah, and the growth is really important, and I kind of want to dive a little bit more into what I was talking about in terms of your job is is auditioning, right? And part of that is working on your craft outside. I think Seattle in general, and I may get flamed for this, but I think that we tend to be pretty lackadaisical in our training. We are not a city like New York where we have a ton of opportunities for tap classes and for singing classes and acting classes and all those things. We have those opportunities here, but they're few and far between. We don't have that steady presence like a city like New York does. And I think that actors sometimes forget that they have to seek those opportunities out to get better. If you're not getting cast, there's a reason. Go and figure that reason out, right? Take those classes, do those things. That's all going to help lead towards the growth. It's not just enough to come in once a year, do your audition, and then come back and sing a new song the next year without any experience in between. You get rusty. Going back to sort of the acting, directing question, I mentioned that I don't really pursue it anymore, and so when I do get the opportunity to act, I'll be honest, there are times where I'm going, oof, I have fallen behind. I am not as sharp as I used to be. I'm like, whoa, that note is harder than I thought it was going to be. So, it's just making sure that you're staying on top of your craft and not letting it get too rusty. Because at the end of the day, you have no one else to blame but yourself if you haven't been working on it. Right. I know that firsthand experience. Yeah. Some of those notes get a little high.
How quickly do you sum up an actor when you're at an audition? Whether it's their song or the monologue or they're reading a script. You look on American Idol and they give them like 10 seconds tops, but can you determine in 10 seconds what an actor is like? Do you give them the full piece to develop it? What advice would you give somebody?
You're asking for all the secrets. I want the person in the room to succeed. I'm rooting for them. Every single person that walks through that door, I'm rooting for them, because the best problem in the world to have is 55 actors that I have to choose from for 7 parts. That is a great problem to have. So I'm going to try to give them as much of my focus as I possibly can, but it becomes fairly obvious probably about 20-25 seconds in if they've done their work, if they have connected to the material in some way and are able to bring something forth. But also, if it marries with the picture that I'm looking for in my head for that particular character. I recently did a set of auditions, and I knew exactly what I was looking for this one character. Auditioner after auditioner, they were all great. They all brought really interesting things, but it just wasn't what I was looking for. And one guy came in, and without having to give him any sort of direction, he had every sort of beat, every sort of nuance that I was looking for, and really captured the character that as I saw it in my head. He was able to walk away with that part. The other folks, I could tell within the first about 20-30 seconds that they just weren't going to be able to give it. And then giving them the benefit of the doubt, I would provide some coaching and say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Give them a second chance. They weren't able to do it in that instance. And usually it's about 20-30 seconds that you can find if they're able to deliver or not.
So Harry, you are also an acting coach, and you also do similar things to Augmented Actor, helping actors with audition tips and whatnot. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting watching your page and my page, because very often you and I are very in line about what's kind of going on in the community and things like that. It's great. I do have a page on Facebook where it's Harry Turpin /Director, and I provide audition tips and sort of do's and don'ts. And every once in a while I'll host a Q&A session, which is free to people to just kind of drop in and ask their questions in real time and provide some feedback, which I don't think that we get a lot of in this community. You go out and you do all these auditions, you're like, and then what? What's the next thing? So you can find out more about projects that I'm directing, read some of the tips, the Q&As, and if you're interested in coaching, of course, there's information there as well.
Good. And we have Harry's information down in the description below as well. Well, thanks a lot for joining me today, Harry. great conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Doug. Thanks for asking. This is a lot of fun.
Well, that was fun. If you enjoyed this video, you'll also enjoy the one that's on your screen right now. Remember to subscribe and share and like this video, and I will see you next time.